If you are pregnant or you've recently had a baby, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Kath Bequee, a physiotherapist working in women's health and mum of 3. Join me each week as we dive into all things pregnancy care, childbirth and postnatal recovery, helping you have a wonderful pregnancy and afterbirth experience. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the Fitness Mama podcast. I am your host, Kath Bequee. I'm a mum of 3 young girls, a physiotherapist for women with 15 years experience, and I have an online community, Fitness Mama, which helps to provide pregnant and new mothers with the exercises, support, and resources they need to move from the overwhelm, the physical aches and pains of pregnancy, the weakness felt after birth, and instead we replace that with the comfort and confidence they need to get their bodies and minds strong again so that they can get back to doing what they love with a bubba by their side, whether or not that's running around with the kids at the park or running the next marathon. Today I have the honour of spilling the milk with Claire, a gorgeous mama who gave birth 5 weeks ago at the time of recording. So Claire is a single mama by choice, and she shares her amazing story about how she became pregnant. And here's a hint, it took a few years and a few different methods of trying before finally falling pregnant. Claire has had the most positive pregnancy, childbirth and newborn experience. And this episode is a must listen if you're after some positivity at the moment. So we discuss maternal assisted cesarean deliveries, being a single mum, recovering from a C-section, and she describes a leaking of amniotic fluid all over her nursery, the car, and the hospital entrance. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with Claire today, and I do hope you enjoy this episode. Before we do jump right into it, I just want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by my free 7-day trial of Fitness Mama. In this 7-day trial, you'll be able to try one of our weekly live Pilates classes. Do as many on-demand classes as you'd like. Binge listen to guest expert speakers discussing topics focused on pregnancy, childbirth and recovery, including hypnobirthing, induction, breastfeeding, mindset and more. And there are also heaps of Q&A sessions with myself on all sorts of topics such as abdominal muscle separation, pregnancy-related pelvic pain, cesarean scar massage, mastitis and more. All you need to do is head to www.fitnessmama.com/free. Right, let's get into this episode. So thank you for joining me today, Claire. It's lovely to have you on the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
For those who don't know you, could you please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Claire. I live in Adelaide, or country South Australia. I'm a vet and a solo mama by choice. So I've just had my first little girl with a donor. She's nearly 6 weeks old and just the most perfect creature I've ever seen.
She is gorgeous, and we probably shouldn't have chatted so much off air because we've probably missed our little window. That doesn't matter at all. So as I just explained off air, this is one of our Spilling the Milk series. So I'm interviewing everyday mamas just like you, Claire. So I think it's really great to be able to hear a whole range of different types of stories. So thank you so much for sharing your journey today.
No, thank you.
So let's start at the start. How did your birth journey begin for you?
It's a little bit funny, actually, because I was working in a vet clinic at the time about 2.5, 3 years ago now, and everybody was getting pregnant and I was saying, no, don't want to do that, don't want to drink the water. And it was sort of something I'd always thought I'd do eventually, but had been single for years and just wasn't on the cards. And then it was literally overnight that I went from thinking about having a marina implanted to thinking, actually, you know what, why don't I just do this? I sort of thought through it and did the pros and cons and then did what I always do, which is slept on it and then woke up saying, yes, I'm going to do it. And from then on, it was a definite, this is what I'm doing. And so I went down the IVF route, which I had one IVF cycle and that was unsuccessful, and I had 3 IUIs and they were all unsuccessful, all with different donors just in case that was the problem. And I had private donors and known donors and anonymous and all the things. And eventually I just gave up. I'd run out of money and it wasn't working, and it was all very stressful. And that was about 2 years worth. And then I, about this time last year, went on a locum stint interstate and met a lovely man and was very upfront, told him my story, said, yep, this is the deal. This is what I've been wanting to do, but I really don't think it's going to happen. Anyway, it did. And so, bless his heart, he knows all about it and is very supportive and very lovely. But my original plan was always to do it on my own and not expect anything from anyone else, and he knows that. And yeah, that's our understanding. We keep in touch and it's really nice, actually. And now I have my darling little Peretta.
That's an incredible story, Claire. Taking a step back, you went overnight from thinking about birth control to wanting to get pregnant. What changed?
Yeah. I had always wanted a family. I hadn't so much wanted children. I'd wanted, the whole fairy tale, the husband and the kids and all of that. And I had always thought that having a child on my own would be the most depressing thing I could think of, which is, of course, ridiculous. But that's just kind of where my mind was at. And then it was simply a matter of me just reframing that thought. And instead of having the images in my mind of being sort of barefoot and pregnant and lonely, I changed those images to empowering ones. Yeah, I am barefoot and pregnant, but I'm not lonely, damn it. I'm independent and successful and I can do this. And why the hell shouldn't I? And so I did.
Amazing. I love that. And did you have any assistance in that mindset side of things, or was this all something that you came to this conclusion on your own?
Yeah, no, this was all me. As I said, there were all these pregnant ladies around me, and I did sort of speak to a couple of good friends at work who had kids and said, am I crazy to voluntarily do this on my own? And they all said, nah, mate, just do it.
Absolutely. And it's so fantastic because in this day and age, we do have the choice, and all power to us is that we can choose our destiny. And it's so lovely to hear. And we're hearing more and more stories just like yours. So
yeah, I would say to any woman who's sort of in their mid to late 30s, as I was, and thinking of having a baby and single or hasn't met the right guy or, hey, is gay or whatever, you can do this. You don't have to do it the traditional way, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But if you want something, you can go out and get it.
Amazing. And did you freeze, just out of interest, did you freeze eggs along the way with the IVF?
No. Well, we only collected 3 and they all disintegrated overnight. I had bad eggs, which is why the fertility doctor, she'd said, yeah, look, I really don't think it's going to happen. I think that your eggs are not good enough quality and blah, blah, blah. So I think even if I could afford another round, I probably wouldn't have. So I went to all the free options after that.
Yeah. And again, this isn't what we were going to talk about today, but it's fascinating. The man who was the donor, was it just one session required with him? Or?
No, it was multiple sessions because it was sort of a bit of a holiday fling, really. But as I said, I was very upfront. I had told him that I wasn't using any contraception. It was just what it was. And he said, oh, well.
Okay, so a little bit of a different start of the birth journey for you. Great little story there. So once you did fall pregnant, how did life change, or did life change?
Didn't change at all, really. I had an incredibly easy pregnancy. I didn't have any nausea. I didn't have any morning sickness. I didn't have any of the unpleasant symptoms, really. It was only in the last maybe month that I started to get sore and achy and pelvic pain and things like that. But I mean, of course, I'm grateful that it was easy, but in a way, I sort of feel like, oh, I've kind of missed that whole. But yeah, I'm not complaining.
You've had your own amazing experience.
That's right.
And I guess it's individual for everyone, so that's fantastic. So in terms of moving on to childbirth then, so you found that pregnancy was a bit of a breeze, dare I say, which was lovely. How did you plan for childbirth? What was the process around that?
A friend of mine who had had a baby a couple of years ago, before I had wanted one, had hers at a particular hospital and saw a particular obstetrician. And I happened to meet him and see the room in the hospital and, chatted to her about it. And it all just looked really great and he seemed really nice. So when I decided that I was going to have a baby, I instantly went, yep, it's going to be that hospital and that OB. So there was never any deliberation of, am I going to go public or private or who or where or whatever. I immediately got myself private health insurance with all of the very expensive obstetrics inclusions and sort of, knew it might take a while, but thought it might be a couple of months, not a couple of years and never. So I've been seeing that OB all along and we had a really good relationship. He's pretty casual like I am. And along the way had heard of a thing called maternal assisted cesareans. And I was always very open to having a cesarean if needed. Being a vet, I've done several hundred myself and to me it's not a big deal. It's just another thing.
Which animals?
Dogs and cats.
Dogs and cats, okay.
It's a little bit smaller.
I didn't realise cesareans was a thing for animals.
Yeah, they're pretty common. I'm an emergency vet, so I see them as emergencies. So they're pretty unwell at that point, but elective ones do occur as well. So, yeah, they're pretty common procedure and not an overly complicated one. So it wasn't something I was ever scared about or concerned about and was quite willing to have if necessary. But my birth plan was basically natural, but all the drugs. I was never going to try to be a warrior and do it pain-free. That's, give me the drugs.
I love it. And it probably gave you peace of mind by being so certain about it and not umming and ahhing and deliberating one way or another. So
Yeah. And I didn't find I had to ask people or go online and do all the research. It was just, yep, I'm fine with it. Give me the drugs. But then when it came to about week 34, she was found to be in an occipital posterior position, so sunny side up, as they say. And therefore my obstetrician said, look, yes, these babies can turn. Sometimes they turn before birth, sometimes they turn during labour. He gave it about a 30% chance of her turning prior to labour. And he said if she doesn't turn, then it will be a very long labour. It will be more painful. There's more risk to her and there's more risk to you, and it will probably end in a cesarean. So what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd kind of like to go into spontaneous labour just so I can experience it for a little while. But then when it gets too hard, I'll wave the white flag and we'll go to a Caesar. So that was kind of my plan. And then at 36 weeks, she turned back to a normal position. And my OB said, well, she's normal now. Do you still want to do a Caesar or do you want to go with a normal labour? And I said, oh, look, let's just do the Caesar. And at that point, I asked about the maternal assist. So basically that's where the mother, because of course it's not a general anaesthetic unless it's an emergency and required, the mother is able to deliver her own baby from her abdominal incision herself. And my obstetrician had never done one and my hospital had never done one. But my OB, bless him, said, oh, yeah, we can give that a go.
I love it. And how did you hear about the maternal assisted cesarean? Where did you first hear about that?
I'd come across a few photos and things, but hadn't really realised it was a thing in Australia. And it was actually my birth photographer, bless her, who mentioned it to me and said that it is a thing. So then I did a bit of research and found that it's only been done a handful of times in Adelaide and even Australia-wide, not common at all. But me being me and being a bit different was like, nah, that's it. I want that. And yeah, my OB, he did say, because I have surgical experience, that he was more comfortable having me do that because there's a sterility component and things as well. But it is a thing and it's a thing that women can ask for. So if it's something that women are interested in, just ask. You never know if you don't ask. And it was fabulous and amazing. And yeah, I delivered her myself from my incision and I cut her cord myself and it was brilliant.
That's so great. You had such an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Now, backtracking, I believe you went into labour. Is that right?
Well, yeah, sort of.
So for those that don't know, Claire is one of the lovely members at Fitness Mama, and we've got a private Facebook group where we all share stories and chat about things and talk about certain topics and that sort of thing. And Claire gave us the most brilliant recount of getting into hospital. So please do share that with everyone, Claire.
Okie dokie. So I had the cesarean booked for the 22nd of October. No, sorry, I tell a lie. It wasn't the 22nd, it was the 15th. 22nd was her original due date. So 15th of October. And then on the 10th of October, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought it would be a good idea to vacuum the nursery. She did not like that idea, and my waters broke all over the nursery floor, and there's a stain there, and I actually think that's quite awesome.
And were you home alone at this stage?
My elderly mother lives with me, so she was home, and I sort of casually walked out of the nursery and said, oh, yes, well, so my waters are broken, so I'm just going to give the hospital a call. And so Mum started packing her things and getting ready. Luckily, I'd already had my hospital bag packed and in the car for several weeks. So I called the hospital and they said, oh, yep, all right, we'll come in, in the next couple of hours. It's a 45-minute drive. So I potted around, sort of just doing last-minute things, had a shower, thinking, oh, that must be it, surely that's all. No, quite a lot of water, amniotic fluid. So, so we got ourselves in the car, and I sat on a very wet towel the whole way.
You were still leaking on the way to the hospital?
Still leaking on the way to the hospital. And I drove because my mum doesn't drive. So probably not the wisest thing to do, but I didn't ever have any contractions. So it just felt wet.
Right. So you weren't in any discomfort at all?
No, none at all. And I kept waiting for something, but there wasn't anything. And even in the lead up to waiting for the Caesar, I never ended up having any discomfort at all. So she's just been perfect from the start. It's about halfway through this 45-minute journey, my mum said, oh, we need to get some prunes and we need to get some bran. And I said, I'm sure those things will be at the hospital, Mum. Oh, no, we need them. Pulled over to a supermarket and there I was sitting in the car in labour, waiting while my mum went in and bought prunes and bran.
bless your mother.
I know, bless. Yeah, and then off we went, toddled off to the hospital. First I parked to let Mum out of the car, unloaded the car with all of my various piles of stuff, then drove the car round to the car park, got out of the car, exploded everywhere.
Oh dear.
I thought, surely that's still finished.
Were you by yourself at this stage?
Yes, by myself then. Took a photo at that point.
Oh dear.
And then, walked up to the entry to the hospital, dripping all over their waiting room carpet. And then, then up we went, admitted to the ward.
This episode is brought to you by Baby Bee, Australian-owned and designed prams combining quality, safety and style. Not only does Baby Bee let you try their prams at home with free returns for 9 months. Yes, that's 9 months. They also offer an industry-leading 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. With thousands of 5-star reviews, around-the-clock customer care, and up to $300 of free accessories with every pram, what are you waiting for? Go visit www.babybeeonline.com and check them out for yourself. And yes, for listeners of the podcast, there is a 20% discount code. Enter FITBEE, FITBEE 20 at checkout, and T's and C's apply. Oh, funny. Well, not funny. It's one of those situations you're probably going to laugh or cry. Is that right?
Oh, it's funny. It's hilarious.
And did something else happen with the suitcases?
Oh, yes. Well, basically there were a lot of suitcases and Mum was sitting on them outside the hospital waiting for me to get checked in and all of that. And then the big suitcase she was sitting on toppled over. So there's poor old, nearly 80-year-old Mum on the floor with the toppled suitcase. me dripping all over the waiting room floor. And this was a Saturday, so not a busy hospital. And all these midwives just going, okay, who do we attend to first? So, yeah, look, it was all very funny, and I'm not fazed by much, so I just thought it was entertaining.
And at least you weren't in any discomfort. You were probably able to take in sort of the hilarity of the situation.
Yes. Well, it was we got there about 3:30 and I was in theatre at 6:30, and that whole time I didn't have any discomfort at all. I was just excited and waiting for what was to come, and my birth partner, good friend of mine, and my photographer sort of rocked up about 6. So, yeah, we were just chatting and waiting. It was great.
Fantastic, Claire. So now that you're a new mum, how is it compared to what you initially envisioned?
Oh, I hate to say it, but so much easier.
That's great. Explain.
Yeah, well, everyone tells you it's so hard, and particularly being on your own, and you'll never get any sleep, and you'll never have a hot meal, and you'll never get anything done. And I thought, okay, yep, years of night shift are going to pay off now. But it's been great. She sleeps about 4 hours consistently overnight. So we go to bed about 11, then we have a feed about 3, then we wake up about 7. So it's really consistent, and she doesn't cry excessively. And to stop her, all I need to do is pick her up and she stops straight away. And we baby wear, so I have her around the house in a sling and we can get things done. And I'm sure it will get harder, but it hasn't yet, and she's nearly 6 weeks, so that's pretty good.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. An uplifting birth story, and she's 5 weeks old, isn't she, Peretta?
Yeah, nearly 6. So
nearly 6.
Yeah.
So that's so lovely, because you're right, you do hear a lot of, I guess, horror stories for birth and for those first 6 weeks. So it is nice hearing a different perspective. And look, everyone's baby is different and every situation is different, but that's lovely.
Yeah, I feel very, very blessed with the unexpected but very much welcome pregnancy, and the easy pregnancy, and the great birth, and the great little baby. I feel like, what have I done to deserve this wonderfulness?
I'm sure a lot of it does come down to mindset, so you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Would you say there are any everyday challenges as a new mum?
I think it just takes a bit longer than you realise to perhaps get organised to get out of the house. And just doing things one-handed as well. If I haven't put her in the sling and I just have her over my shoulder, just sort of have to work out how to do things with one hand. And obviously I had a cesarean, so recovering from that, again, I hate to say it, has been very, very easy, but obviously it isn't for everybody, and that is a big thing to consider, especially if you're going to be on your own. So
when you say easy recovery, do you mean you didn't have much pain?
Yeah, correct. Very minimal pain, really no debility at all. I was expecting to have great difficulty getting in and out of bed or bending or even just picking her up. But I found actually the last month of pregnancy was more difficult in terms of physical ability than this has been. But again, I'm aware I've been very, very lucky. And yes, obviously for some women it's not like that. So I did put a lot of things in place to prepare for my probable bed rest. Lots and lots of cooking food and freezing food. And I did engage the help of an Adelaide company that comes out and delivers food and sort of does postnatal massage and acupuncture and things like that for a couple of hours a week. So I did that for the first month, and really glad I did. But again, I sort of felt like, oh, well, probably in terms of the physical help didn't need to, as it turns out. But no way of predicting that. And ladies who know that they're going to have a cesarean, even if you've got hubby home, prepare as much as possible with the preparation that you probably won't be able to do a lot, but you might be able to.
And I guess it's better to be prepared than not. So you've already got everything set in place, and the fact that you didn't need it, fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And the driving, I thought that was going to be quite a big deal because they say don't drive for 6 weeks. Didn't turn out to be an issue. And in any case, I was driving after 3 weeks. So it's all good.
But I guess now at time of recording, Adelaide's just gone into their lockdown. So it's going to be a bit more enforced rest for you.
Yes, that's right. Sort of been spending most of the time at home with Bubs, occasionally taking her out, but now it just means more time in bed with Bubs.
So do you think there was anything that you did do or that you didn't do that did help with the pain aspect?
Yeah, I think I had been doing yoga every day for about 18 months prior to getting pregnant, and I'm not very good at it, but I did notice that if I skipped a day or two that I really did miss it and I wanted to do it. So I kept that up all the way through pregnancy until the last month or so, where I probably did it maybe every 2 or 3 days. But I really think that was a really big contributor to my recovery, because there's no other reason why I should have recovered so well other than my surgeon was very good. But I'm 38 and I'm not especially fit. I would have thought I would have a fairly standard recovery, which is not an easy one. But yeah, it's been great. So I'd credit the yoga.
Fantastic. Having done yoga for 18 months, having that consistency behind you, I'm sure did help at some stage or other.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. And there were certainly some exercises that I got from the Fitness Mama page that were helpful and that I incorporated into my yoga practice, and I'm sure that they helped as well.
So why did you join Fitness Mama?
Just as an extra resource and an extra village, I guess. So obviously I'm on my own, and it's good to have even an online village to be able to bounce questions off or chat to or share things with. One of the things I love about your Fitness Mama group, the brag posts, I think they're great.
So we have a Friday brag post where all the mums can post something, you know, whether or not they had a pregnancy massage or their baby walked for the first time or anything at all, really. Baby photo, bump photos, baby photos. So that's lovely.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice to share our triumphs and to see other people's. It's a really positive space, and I find a lot of these various online groups, there's always someone who wants to chime in and say, do your research, hun, or whatever, and there's none of that. It's just all, yay, look what I did, and everyone else saying, yay. So it's great.
That's great to hear. So to finish up with, you've said a few things about the cesarean, but what words of wisdom do you have for pregnant mums today or women that are yet to become pregnant? Do you have any words of wisdom to impart on them?
Never give up.
Love it.
And do it your way. It's your pregnancy, it's your birth, it's your baby. And, you know, if you have a partner, obviously you want to discuss things with them, but ultimately you're mama and it's your baby. So you do what you want to do, and don't be afraid to ask for things, even if you think it's a bit out there or a bit weird or that someone's going to say no. You don't know unless you ask. So ask.
Beautiful. And you know what? We don't need to say anything more. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Claire, for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. It was just so lovely to hear your take on life. You're such a positive person and you're just doing such an amazing job. So well done.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you for having me. It's been fun.
No worries.
All with baby on chest.
And exactly. We hardly heard a peep. Okay, we'll catch you soon. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. And before we sign off, please remember, my team and I will be putting together the show notes for this episode at fitnessmama.com/podcast. And if you want to experience the amazing community of Fitness Mama just like Claire to help support and cheer you along, then head to fitnessmama.com/free for your free 7-day trial. In those 7 days, you can do a live Pilates class, on-demand classes tailored to your stage of pregnancy or afterbirth recovery, and have access to guest expert speakers and support from myself. I'd love to see you inside the membership. Have a fabulous day, everyone, and I look forward to you joining me next week for another episode of the Fitness Mama podcast. Thanks for listening to the Fitness Mama podcast, brought to you by the Fitness Mama freebies found at www.fitnessmama.com/free. So please take a few seconds to leave a review, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and be sure to take a screenshot of this podcast, upload it to your social media, and tag me at Fitness Mama so I can give you a shout out too. Until next time, remember, an active pregnancy, confident childbirth, and strong postnatal recovery is something that you deserve. Remember our disclaimer: materials and contents in this podcast are intended as general information only and shouldn't substitute any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I'll see you soon.